What is good, YouTube? Playing Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with the hottest topic today. We're going to talk about Carmelo Anthony and him leaving to go in his own mind, try to soul search and figure out what he can do to make it to the NBA. As you know, free agency is basically almost over as we get ready to go into September and October. We are basically seeing rosters as what they're going to probably be at the start of the season, and Carmelo Anthony at this point in time in his career has not been picked up and is not on the roster right now. And I think that that's kind of crazy. If you'd have told me that 3 years ago when he was in OKC, he was averaging 20 points a game that season. If you'd have told me after that year that Carmelo Anthony would be completely out of the league, I would have called you crazy because he showed right then and there that he had a lot more in the tank, and now he's not even on the roster at all. He missed damn near the whole season last year, and honestly and truthfully, it seems like he's going to miss this year too. And I wanted to ask that to my readers and my readers and my people that follow me on YouTube. That is Carmelo Anthony. Do you want him on your team? Should he be in the NBA? Should he not be in the NBA? And I just wanted to run down and talk about this topic because it is important. Because I was a guy that defended Carmelo Anthony in OKC, and I was a guy that defended Carmelo Anthony still to this day because I feel like he is a rider. I do feel like he is still one of the better players in the world, and he should still be on the NBA roster, just like a lot of people think. Nobody thinks that Carmelo is trash and washed up. People just don't think he's Carmelo anymore. He's been a superstar damn near his entire career. He hasn't had to really answer to nobody. He has always got basically what he wanted because he was one of the best players in the league. Maybe not the best player, but he was always one of the top 15, top 20 players in the NBA, and that's consistent throughout his career as he has been a 20-point scorer majority of his career, and it even showed in OKC that he can still be that at the end of the day. So to me, I like it. That he was honest. I like the fact that he kept it real with his fans, and he gave the people what they wanted. We wanted to see what was happening, what was going on, and now that we know he's done with Houston and why he left Houston and stuff like that, I think that it is important to go back and look at a lot of things in his career as we see, is he going to retire or is he done for good? And one thing I wanted to focus on was the money. He made a big thing about the money. Carmelo been known as a guy that didn't want to take less money. He wanted to get as much money as he can. I told you guys that LeBron James did the same thing. He's told Chris Paul and him said you're supposed to get the max money that you can make, and he did that in Los Angeles, kinda. And he kinda did that also in Cleveland the last couple of years that he was there, making over $30 million a year just to stay on the Cavaliers and on his Laker team where he's making 35 right now. And at the end of the day, Carmelo made that decision to stay in Denver for that 5th year. He had no player option or anything. He had to ride out those 5 years in Denver when he was actually supposed to try to opt out early so that way he can play with Dwayne Wade and LeBron James or even Chris Paul. Didn't really go that way. He ended up staying in Denver, getting traded to New York, a situation where we all feel like that was one of his mistakes, was really wanting to play in New York. And if he really wanted to play in New York, then he should have just stayed on that Denver team and became a free agent, and then basically tried to sign with New York as a free agent so that way they can keep majority of their young talent and have a chance to compete for a title. But remember, when Amari Stoudemire got signed by the Knicks, we already knew he had bad knees and a bad eye. He ended up never really turning into anything anyway because he ended up getting injured a lot after that first year that he had an MVP caliber year. And after that, Amari Stoudemire, nothing was ever the same, which means the guy that he chose to team up with and become a duo with never really held up anyway. And that means that they most likely would have never won at the end of the day. Even with Amari Stoudemire, if he could never stay healthy, they probably would never have won a title anyway. The only team that he had a legitimate chance of winning the championship with was the time that they went against the Los Angeles Lakers against Kobe Bryant. And they had a chance even when J.R. Smith throws in the ball and he gets stripped by Trevor Ariza. They had a chance to take it 7 games, I believe, but they ended up losing in 6, which was okay because we never really expected them to be a championship contender anyway. And Carmelo Anthony even kept it real about that. He said that if you look at my whole career, we've seen the same thing that Paul Pierce said against Dwayne Wade. They never really had any great teams that can really win a title. There's not one team that Carmelo Anthony played on that I felt had a legitimate chance of winning a championship or being a legitimate contender for the title, even when he was in Denver, even when he was in New York, and even when he was in Oklahoma City Thunder, because we all personally felt that Golden State was the better team. We hyped it up because it was Russ and KD, but we all knew that at the end of the day, Golden State should beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they didn't really fit or mesh well together anyway. And I don't think that was all on Carmelo Anthony. I feel like there's a lot of players that had played a lot into that, and at the end of the day, it just never worked, and it never was a great fit for Carmelo or the Thunder. And Carmelo got a lot of heat and a lot of blame for it not really working out in Oklahoma City. But when he even got traded for Dennis Schroeder, they still got put out in the first round and didn't even win 50 games, letting you know that it wasn't Carmelo Anthony's fault that the Thunder never really had a successful season, because they had another season with Paul George and Russ without him, and they still had the same results that they had with Carmelo Anthony, letting you know right then and there that was not his fault. Also, when you look at Houston, he tried to take a lesser role. He came off the bench with Houston. He was open-minded, and I do think he's a man of his word, so I'm not going to call him a liar until he proves to me that I'm a liar. I got to give him the benefit of the doubt. And in Houston, he never really had a legitimate chance, because after 10 days, he was already done. And that means he never really could get acclimated. He can never really get his foot in. And honestly and truthfully, it happens. It's a business. Some teams want to try you out. Certain teams don't believe in you. Certain teams ain't committed to you. And all you can just do is go out there and play your game and try and get as much effort as you can. There's nothing else that you can really do. And I feel like Carmelo has some good games. He has some ugly games. He has some great games, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But then again, he didn't even play a whole season. Like you said, he couldn't even get acclimated. He couldn't really even get a chance to adjust to his roles, because they wanted him out of there just that quick. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that's up to you. I'm not saying that he was right. I'm not saying that he's wrong. I'm just trying to tell you from both sides of the story, and you can judge it the way you want to. But what I will say at the end of the day is that Carmelo Anthony, he's going to really have to find himself a little bit more this season, because this could be his last time. And even if he doesn't get another opportunity, I feel like he just went out so hard and so weird. Even when listening to the conversation on ESPN First Take, it was kind of weird seeing that how the situation happened in Houston and OKC, that now it got to the point where he's not even in the NBA at all. That's just a little weird, and that just don't really make sense to me, considering that he showed that he still was a capable player, and he was one of the better players, in my personal opinion, on a Thunder team. And I feel like he really went out there and gave it his all. We all know that Carmelo never been a great defender. We already know that Carmelo hasn't been the greatest leader, but he still has always been a guy that you can count on to give you buckets. You knew what he bring to the table. You knew what he was going to bring to the game when he was in the game, and you knew that he was going to go out there and compete to the best of his ability. And remember, he did have a chance in the playoffs to guard Kobe, and he took that challenge to go out there and guard the best player on the opposite team, and you got to give him credit for that, showing that he was willing to do what it takes to win games. And he was able to win 50 games majority of his career. He didn't advance far in the playoffs, and like I said, I never really thought Denver, New York, or OKC was legitimate contenders anyway to win the title. But honestly, at this point in his career, Carmelo Anthony basically is forced to play a role that he really didn't want to play, which is you have to do whatever it takes to stay in the NBA, whether that's being the seventh, eighth, or ninth man, whether that's being the sixth man, or whether that's just you playing every once in a while. If you want to be in the NBA, you have to accept the role that the team wants you to have and that they feel like you deserve. If not, you better off retiring, because you don't have to play anymore. Carmelo Anthony should have enough money. Carmelo Anthony should be financially stable. And Carmelo Anthony is already going to be a Hall of Famer. He has nothing really to gain outside of winning a title. If Carmelo Anthony is not winning the title, he's doing it primarily for the love. Because at this point in his career, he's not really going to get paid that much money. He's not really going to be alone to get a long-term commitment. If anything, he's going to bounce from team to team. If he does make a team this year, he's going to be on a different team next year if he makes a team next year. So he's not going to have the stability. He's not going to really have the money, and he's not going to really have the starting role anymore. But at the end of the day, I still feel like if his heart is there and this is what he still want to do with his life, he's going to have a good look in the mirror, and he's going to have to talk to himself a little bit, talk to his wife a little bit, and figure out is he willing to do that to stay in the NBA, and is he willing to do that for the rest of his career? Because that's the direction that it's going in at this particular time. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Did Carmelo Anthony make a decision or the wrong decision not going to Chicago? Do you think he should have never went to New York? Do you think he should never signed the extension to stay in New York? Do you think he should have got out of Denver quicker? Do you think he should have waited and joined New York instead of trying to get traded there and force his way out? And do you think Carmelo Anthony will regret these decisions as his career is now over? Or do you think that, hey, he's a man, he made decisions that he personally felt was right, and it just didn't play out in the favor that he thought as when it comes as far as coming to winning? Financially, he got what he wanted, but it didn't come with the accolade of winning the title. Now that he's older, he's going to have to accept that lesser role, and if that's the case, he still has a chance to win the title as long as he is in the NBA.